Hey guys, this is Miss Arlequin, and in this video we are going to be learning some new vocabulary words. This is our cartoon vocabulary words group number 3 lesson. Alright, so as always, our learning target for a lesson where we learn new words is that we can apply our knowledge of context clues to both reading and writing. So we want to be able to use context clues to figure out the meaning of an unknown word, and we want to be able to write a sentence that contains context clues for each new word. Alright, so the first thing I'd like you to do is to take your vocabulary sheet, and in the first column where you have the words listed, I want you to just rate your knowledge of our new vocabulary words. Don't look at the definitions yet. It's just when you hear the word without looking at the definition, how well do you think you already know this word? Our first word is benign. Second is innocuous. Third is infallible. And the fourth is incorrigible. All right, so let's start with benign. Benign is an adjective, which means it is used to describe nouns. When you describe something or someone as benign, you're saying they're harmless, gentle, kindly. The lunch ladies may look scary, but they're benign. I'm not so sure about the lunch, however. So the lunch lady looks scary, but she's actually harmless or gentle or kind. Now, the word benign usually has a medical connotation. It is often used to describe tumors, and people associate it with cancer, with lumps. When you go to a doctor and they say that you have a lump or they see that you have a tumor, they do a test that's called a biopsy, which is where they take a part of the lump or a part of the tumor out, and then they test in the lab and they see if it's cancer or not. So if the lump or the tumor ends up being benign, that means you don't have cancer. We were happy to hear that the tumor was benign. It wasn't cancer, it was harmless. All right, so just to very quickly review, since benign is an adjective, you can use the word in one of the following ways. You can say that you are benign. You could talk about somebody else being benign, saying he or she is benign. Or you could, again, with a noun, describe something as benign. In all of these examples, the word benign is being used as an adjective. But you cannot use it as a verb. Here we've got a past tense verb and a present tense verb. I benign my sister. That is not appropriate. It doesn't make sense. There's no verb form of the word benign. You can't say I benigned the dog. You could say the dog is benign. Or I was benign to my sister. All right, next our word is innocuous. Something that is innocuous is something that is safe and harmless. So this is very similar to the word benign. Usually when you talk about innocuous, though, you're talking about small things that are harmless. Actually, I am an innocuous breed of shark. So I am a safe or harmless breed of shark. You can tell, look at the picture. I mean, the shark looks like a nerd. He's got a tie, he's got a little hat, he's got glasses, suitcase. He's not hurting anybody. The comedian thought his jokes. So an adjective can describe people, but it can also describe things. In this case, it's the jokes that are being described as innocuous. Now, the comedian thought his jokes were innocuous, but they actually ended up offending a lot of people. So they actually caused harm. They upset people. So again, this is an adjective. So you can use it to describe yourself, to describe a person, to describe a thing. You can even use it as an adverb. He innocuously tried to. So his actions are innocuous. He's trying to do something innocuously. But it is not a verb. You cannot say, I innocuous my sister, or I innocuous the dog. That would not make sense. All right, our next word is infallible. And once again, infallible is an adjective used to describe people, places, or things. A person who is infallible never makes a mistake. So this kid thinks he is an infallible speller as long as the words are 3 letters or less. So if it's anything longer than that, he's not going to be infallible. If it's a long word, he's going to make a mistake. But if the words are short, then he's infallible. So really, when you think about somebody who's infallible, you would also probably describe them as being perfect. Your DNA at the scene is infallible evidence that you committed the crime. It's perfect evidence. There is no mistake in a DNA evidence. It cannot be mistaken with somebody else. The only way DNA evidence is not infallible is if it's been contaminated. But if the sample is pure and it hasn't been contaminated with anybody else's DNA, then it is going to be infallible evidence. And again, once again, this is an adjective. Use it to describe yourself, to describe other people, or to describe things. You can also use it as an adverb. So you can try, your actions can be infallible. You can speak infallibly. So you can, again, pair this up with some verb, because adverbs do describe verbs, but you cannot use it as a verb. All right, and our final word is incorrigible. Incorrigible is an adjective. When you describe someone as incorrigible or something as incorrigible, you're saying it's unable to be corrected. So usually we would correct people. So it would make the most sense to describe a person as being incorrigible. And if not the person, then the person's actions, something that they do. Like if somebody has really messy handwriting, you might say that their handwriting is incorrigible. You keep trying to get them to write neater, but they just can't do it. Here, she's saying, my vocabulary is extensive. It's my spelling that's incorrigible. So she tries to spell the word loquacious, and this is terrible. Tries to spell the word intrepid, and she tried to spell the word frugal. So she has a really high vocabulary, but it's just not working out for her when it comes to spelling. Even after spending a year in jail, the young man remains incorrigible. He remains uncorrected, unmanageable, unruly. He cannot be corrected. He can't be reformed. He can't change his ways. So the young man remains incorrigible and unafraid of the law. So he knows he's going to commit a crime again, and he's going to end up back in jail. All right, so once again, adjective, describe yourself, describe other people, describe things. Do not use it as a verb. You cannot incorrigible your test. You can say the answers on your test were incorrigible. All right, so now it's time to write our own example sentences. You do have sentence frames here on the screen that you should feel free to use if you feel a little uncomfortable using these words on your own. The sentence frames are there to give you support. They're like the training wheels of a bike. If you feel like you're going to fall, you want to put the training wheels on until you're comfortable riding without them. If you're comfortable using these words, then you do not need these sentence frames. Just come up with your own sentences. And of course, as always, try to challenge yourself. If you can use some previous vocabulary words in these sentences as well, that'll always get you bonus points.